Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
Somebody's choppy as shit. Oh boy.
That's been her internet basically all weekend.
That's fantastic. It's like working with Max Headroom. So that's fun. Well, everybody, it's a special.
I'll be back.
All right. Well, we're going to intro. It's a very special Sunday preview pre-show episode of the Mark Order Podcast here on the Shining Wizards Network. It's going to be the holy triumvirate of the Mark Order Podcast. Once Kate gets back, I'm here with Ryan Schlong. Happy Memorial Day, everyone. A weekend full of pool parties, barbecues, baseball parades, and wrestling.
Lots of wrestling.
Lots of wrestling. But the big one, if you ask me, and what we're here to talk about, much better, Kate, is Double or Nothing tonight. So we're here basically today to run through the card, to give you guys a preview of how we sort of got here, give you our thoughts on the matches, and maybe even our picks. Now, we did some picks Wednesday night, but we've all actually had a little bit of time to marinate about what's going on, think it through. And maybe some people will change their mind. That's not a guarantee. But we also had some stuff added. So why don't we jump straight into it? The show tonight is going to be on Bleacher Report here in the United States. I think it's also on cable providers, like regular pay-per-view, Dave & Buster's movie theaters, all that kind of jazz. Starts at 7 o'clock with the buy-in. And we get one match during the buy-in. It's the Hardys and Hook versus the Guns and Ethan Page. So there's been this whole, they did the whole thing with the Hardys and Brother Zay and the final deletion. And Ethan Page has moved on to enlist the Guns to help him sort of take out the Hardys. And the Hardys have taken side with Hook, which is fantastic for Hook, who also, if you're following any of the AEW stuff, we're not talking through all the toys and all the stuff yesterday, but Hook getting memorialized with a Hookhausen.
That's right.
Action figure pack. I've
Yep.
got it all ordered. I pre-ordered everything I possibly could. I'm very angry I couldn't get the Jade exclusive from there in the Fan Fest. But anyway, so that's the only buy-in match that they've actually promoted here. And it might sort of make sense because I think lately, guys, what they've been doing with the buy-in is they show the Road to show first, and then they sort of go live and have one or maybe two matches. I don't know, guys. What do we think about this? Do we like the Hardys and Hook?
Yeah, I'm going faces here. I feel like the Hardys and Hook have a lot to gain, and I think the Guns and Ethan Page are not going to be a permanent alliance once Collision is underway, but also for the buy-in, I feel like you generally go with like some nice babyface moments to get you excited and into the show. I'm sure RJ City and Renee Paquette will have a lot of fun things to say around all of the wackiness that the deletion crew brings to the table. But for this one, I'm going the faces. I think the Hardys and the returning brother Zay have a lot to gain from this, and Ethan Page and the Guns don't have a ton to lose from losing here.
We do get to see more Ethan Page, though, Ryan. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, well, I have the heels winning.
Ooh.
Noted Gun Club stan, Ryan.
Very big fan of the Gun Club, but that's not why I have them winning. I have them winning because of a returning Scorpio Sky.
Oh, I do like where your head's at, Ryan. Now, can I ask you what makes you think we're going to get a return from Scorpio Sky tonight? Is it because we see him maybe in the Collision?
100% just has to do with the fact that he's pretty sure in the Collision promo, and I'm like, well, that works for me, because otherwise you're going to now have Ethan Page have his contract owned by the Hardys, which is just a reverse telling of what we've just seen the last few months. And even I'm like, as much as I love that story, being like, do I really buy into that?
I did not
So
realize ownership was on the line. That makes me want to
It
change
is.
my pick. I did not
It is.
realize that. That makes me think the heels aren't going over then, because you can't retread that. I did not realize that the
What a
contract
quick
stipulation-
turnaround. My
I didn't
goodness.
realize the stipulation. If you had told us the stipulation up front, I
I'm gonna be
probably
honest.
I
To
knew
be
the
honest,
stipulation.
you didn't know.
I didn't know.
You didn't know.
I'm the only one who's been tracking that story because it was heavily featured on Dark and Elevation.
Oh,
Well, and also, but Ryan, I do like where your head's at with Scorpio Sky because of the sheer fact that, don't forget, during the pandemic, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page were a team. They were
They were a great team. They're, to me, there's a
men
more
of the
of a
year,
need.
even one might say.
Yeah. To me, there's more of a need for a team of that level than there is for the singles run at this point.
Well,
take it.
I will say this. I do like your idea of Scorpio Sky. I didn't even think about that. Like it didn't cross my brain. So I do like that thought. And like Kate said, knowing ownership is on the line. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go with the heels here. It will be tough though, because Hook is in that match. So if you ask me, the only way that the heels can win would be you gotta pin maybe Matt Hardy. You pin a Jeff Hardy. You can't pin a Jeff Hardy. You can't pin him
Yeah, Matt
Agreed.
Hardy's taking the pin for sure.
with some shenanigans. So it should protect everybody.
Indeed.
Well, guys, moving on to the main show. We did get an announcement. I think it was yesterday, maybe even Friday. I can't keep track. All the news has been coming through fast and furious, and that's not to say I know we're family.
We are family. We are family. Vin Diesel was in the chat on Wednesday, so
Very true. I'm just trying to make sure we can get Vin Diesel back eventually.
of course.
You know what? Me and Vin are so tight, by the way. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get off track. Me and Vin are so tight. I call him Groot.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Look
you
at
guys.
I
were
call
that
him
close.
Iron Giant.
Oh, even better. Even better.
I call him brother because we're family.
Okay. Well, see, I like how we all have our own relationships with Mr.
No.
Vincent Diesel.
It's sweet.
So they did announce that the House of Black are going to be having an open house, open challenge for the AEW Trios titles. So we don't know who that trio is going to be. And this did make it all the titles on the line tonight during this pay-per-view, because this was the only one that was outstanding. So guys, I guess first things first, who do you think is going to be the TBA? And Ryan, I'm going to throw this to you first, since you're the one who's got all the news. And who do you think the team's likely to be, and who do you think is going to win?
Well, House of Black's winning.
Okay.
Now the team's the tough part. That's where I'm blanking.
Now,
It's the Acclaimed.
do you think it's going to be the Acclaimed and perhaps Daddy Ass?
Yep, it's the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass.
The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. Okay. And the House of Black wins. Okay. Kate, do you agree with the trio and the prediction?
I actually agree with both. I think having House of Black offset by the type of baby faces that the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass are makes sense. They've been picking up some wins. Bowen's had that nice promo on Rampage as they were going home with it. I feel like that makes a ton of sense. I also feel like House of Black their reign is kind of just getting underway, even though that they've had the titles for a while. So I think they absolutely win. I don't know what to expect fully from this, but I can't imagine them having a pay-per-view where the Acclaimed isn't on it with as popular as they are as well. This makes a ton of sense. I'm excited to see what we get out of this and to see how the stipulation comes into play. No scissoring, perhaps? I don't know. We'll find out.
Oh,
No. It's up to them, right? So maybe it's
only scissoring.
Yeah, you can't not scissor. No tags, just scissors.
Oh,
honestly, that'd be hilarious to get your teammate in. They have to scissor.
Like Brody King and Bud Matt.
um, I do agree with the prediction because I think the House of Black is just getting rolling. They just started this open house rules challenge, and I think it's going pretty well if you ask me. Like I like exactly what they're doing with that. I guess I like the prediction on the trio because if you and we're going to talk about who's involved in the Blackjack Battle Royal here. But because of who's involved in the Blackjack Battle Royal, that likely makes sense to me. Although you never know who they might pull in randomly, right? Like, I mean, um, you've got teams from all over that they just can pull in, right? Like anybody, you would think anybody from New Japan.
Aussie Open just showed up. That was something that I thought about too. But I think you'd want to do a build of like Aussie Open with somebody for the trios titles for sure. But that ran through my head.
Right. Yeah, I mean, plus with half of Aussie Open sort of being on the shelf, I don't think you pull that trigger just yet. And it's like when you think of other people who maybe have worked in AEW before, or maybe could like, Matt's favorite, the Motor City Machine Guns. Like who would they possibly, like work with? So like, there's just too many questions about that. So I guess, yeah, the Acclaim probably makes sense. So yeah, I like the pick. The prediction makes sense. It'll be interesting to see if it's not the Acclaimed. But we'll know in a few hours. Moving on. This is not a title match, but it is certainly a grudge match. We're getting Adam Cole versus Chris Jericho in an unsanctioned match, and of all people, Sabu is going to be in Cole's corner. And for those who don't know, Sabu, I believe, and Jericho had one match in ECW while Jericho was there for a cup of coffee before going to WCW. I'm sorry, WWECW.
The one that matters.
That's right. Before he went to WCW. So I guess that makes Sabu very familiar with Jericho. But all I can tell you is this. We got here because Adam Cole came back. He had those quick issues with the JAS. There was a lot of over-the-shoulder stares. Jericho then put, the JAS sided with the Outsiders to basically put a beat down on Britt Baker. It's just made Adam Cole livid, and now this is all coming to a boiling point here tonight. So, Kate, let's go to you first. Do you think Adam Cole wins tonight, or is Jericho able to find a way with the entire JAS minus Sammy Guevara to come out of here with a win?
I'm sorry, minus who?
Oh, Sammy Guevara.
Thank you. This is surprising because Jericho's had a couple of bigger pay-per-view losses. And normally that would make me think that Jericho is going to go over. But I do think Adam Cole goes over because I think he's MJF's next feud. I don't think you bring Sabu back into the picture without having Adam Cole go over. And I also think that maybe Jericho taking these big losses is finally breaking up the Jericho Appreciation Society, especially with the division of rosters coming. Let's get them split up. Let's let Danny Garcia go do his own thing. So that's what I'm thinking. Adam Cole goes over tonight, baby.
Sean, you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it seems fairly obvious. Adam Cole has a clear path after he wins, go to the title, or even a couple other feuds that all are above this. Jericho's win doesn't change his trajectory at all, because Jericho could decide he wants to go for the title tomorrow, and they're not going to get rid of that because he's at that level. So, yeah, I'm going with Kate on this one that the Bebe wins. Don't think we need Sabu, but apparently we do.
Yeah, I would agree that Cole's going to come out of this with the win. I think you just have to. You've been building this up so much that Cole's got to get this and then move on. And I'm with you, Ryan. I think he's likely the next person based on some reports. There was a promo that got cut 2 weeks ago where MJF really sort of put it out there that it was going to be Adam Cole. And I think they cut that because they didn't want to really give you that picture yet. So if that all plays out, I'm fine with it. Here's what I don't want. I don't want this to somehow lead to Jericho and Sabu at their age. I really don't need to see that.
Super not. I'm also thinking Sabu might be a red herring for a Kyle O'Reilly run-in of some sort. That's what
When
I'm
did
hoping
Kyle
for.
O'Reilly go out? Do we remember?
November, I want to say. November. I think his surgery was in December, and he had complications for it. I don't think he'd be ready for an in-ring return, but I think he's up and well enough to run some bitches off.
I was trying to think just because Trent also had a neck surgery, and I was just trying to base it off of his return.
I think it was like November.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seems, I mean, for what you said, Kate, where like he comes in and wields a kendo stick and puts someone down.
Yeah.
Fine. But for like a long term, he doesn't. I don't think he's there. But I'm okay if he comes in just for, Jericho thinks he's got it wrapped up, and then out of nowhere, Kyle O'Reilly comes and hits him over the back of the head with something. I'm like, all right, we're good. We got to win.
Yeah.
And then we have a reunion between, Cole,
Strong,
Roddy
and,
Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly. Yeah, I
and
like that idea.
Strong could be holding a fish.
Yes.
Oh, wouldn't it be great if he just had a grouper or a tuna or something that he held up? Just like, ooh, here. And then everybody kisses the fish.
Where's the lie with that?
They could even put a little handlebar mustache on the fish. So you really know what they're talking about. Yeah, I think I'm with Kate. A run-in's okay. I don't think if he does show up, there's no bump, whatsoever on Kyle O'Reilly. But he didn't. Kate, the complications I don't think were around like head injury as far as like concussion or anything like that, right? It's really just the neck fusion.
Neck fusion, and he also has diabetes. And it
Yes.
sounded like that maybe that was what wasn't under control about it. Like maybe there was some conflict with that. I don't know what it would be, but in January he had posted that there were post-surgery complications, but he's like alive and not paralyzed, so they can't have been too bad.
Yeah, and post-surgery even could have been something like an infection,
Sure.
Or even like MRSA or something like that. So
baby.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but it would be awesome for Kyle O'Reilly to come back. Moving on, we get our TBS championship tonight. Jade Cargill is going to defend her title against Taya Valkyrie. This is a rematch. Let's not forget Taya Valkyrie lost her match where she could not use the Ride to Valhalla or whatever that's called.
Road to Valhalla.
Road to Valhalla?
Yeah, because you're going to Valhalla. You take the road to Valhalla.
Okay. Well, I would take a ride on the road to Valhalla.
I correct you and give you the proper name for the move.
We're trying to get through this quickly, Ryan. Please, let's stay.
Yeah, don't interrupt.
You bitches.
So in the aftermath, Taya Valkyrie put her hands on Aubrey and then was suspended for a week and then came back to challenge for the title again. So I'll give you guys my take real quick. If they don't get this belt off Jade tonight, Chris Statlander doesn't appear, then I don't know what the fuck we're doing anymore. I'm at a loss. So I think there's a lot of ifs in there. If no Chris Statlander, it's got to be Taya. And if Chris Statlander appears at some point, even after the match, and Jade wins, like I'm fine with that. But if not, I'm lost with this title. I have no idea. Let's go to you, Kate. I'm sorry.
No, all good. I am gonna switch my pick on this. I'm actually gonna say that Taya Valkyrie goes over. I'm just thinking about the fact that they have this big Canadian tour coming up. I think that could be super, super fun. And I don't think there's a massive story where if Chris wins it, she has to beat Jade for it. So you gave a little bit more breathing room to Chris's return there. Chris is going to be white hot. They might also want to put her in the world title picture. But I don't, this is kind of a dark horse pick. I don't know if my head actually feels like this is the way this is going to go, but my heart is feeling like we got to get this belt off Jade. I don't know if Chris is ready, but I I'm thinking about that Canadian tour coming up and how productive it would be to have Taya Valkyrie with the title in Canada. Could be a really, really fun way to go about business.
That's a good point, Kate, too. You could also, if Taya does win and goes on that tour, that's fine. If Chris Statlander does come back, you can even put her in the Owen tournament to get her going again, right? So, she might not even need to go straight for a belt picture. She could come straight into that. My second point, it's nice they're going on a summer tour of Canada, but is Canada really a place you want to summer in? You want to summer in like the south of France.
No, you summer in Canada because you can't winter there at all.
No, of course. But do you want to all summer in Canada? Ryan shaking his head no. This is an audio medium.
It depends on the part.
I don't know if I'm missing a joke here or...
No, I'm just asking for real.
Yeah, you don't have to. It's the only time you can go in Canada.
I would say a Canadian fall jaunt would be the way that I would go with that. But it probably depends on where you are in Canada, because there's some really beautiful areas.
Well, there's no Canada like French Canada. It's the only Canada in the land.
That's very true, Ryan. So,
point.
Ryan, who do you think is going to win this belt tonight?
My opinion has not changed in that it's Taya. However, I was thrown a bit of a curveball that would... It's an out of left field. I don't think it's going to happen. But we're having fun. There are reports that Jordynne Grace is done with Impact. She's stating that she's taking time off to do projects. And while I'm sure she has projects she could do, and I don't want to say she's lying, wrestlers do work. If there's anyone you're pulling in other than Chris Statlander to take that belt off of Jade, it'd be Jordynne Grace. Yeah. Like Jade wins and then Jordan's music hits.
That's a very good point.
That is a good point. Although, again, I will counter that with saying, if you do have any plan to bring Jordynne in, you could bring her into the Owen tournament.
You could, but I'm just... But
just
imagine Jordynne versus Jade.
I know.
And couple alliances, though, to your same point, also thinking about apparently Gresham and ROH are on good terms. Athena versus Jordynne Grace could be a hell of a move. So a lot of possibilities, but I completely forgot about the Jordynne Grace news. That is obviously a huge, a mega feud that you could set up with Jordynne and Jade for sure.
I'm bringing up a funny comment real quick. I just think this is Rob Humphrey. I've picked against Jade at the last few pay-per-views and been wrong. I'm picking I guess her tonight, so she'll lose. Rob, we have all picked against Jade at some point because it's been logical that she should lose, and she wins. That has been the problem.
Well, fingers crossed tonight, because if Jade wins, they've got to set something up to begin to get this belt off her.
And it has to be set up tonight.
Has to. You can't let it breathe until Wednesday night. Like, I know it's a super quick turnaround, but like you just gotta put the picture out tonight. If you think
about it, it was a year ago that they brought in Athena as a post-match pay-per-view surprise, right? With Stokely, they both came down. I think a lot of us thought a year ago that might be what they were setting up, was Athena to come in and dethrone Jade, and they haven't done that. And they haven't built out anything in the past year to dethrone her. So agreed, overdue. Let's make it.
Oh, yeah. Scorpio Sky is 100% in the Collision commercial, by the way.
Okay.
I was literally playing next to him as I was looking.
No, and he's been on graphics and stuff. Yeah, he's back.
Like his face is right there. So
I just don't see a return in a pre-show spot, but they've done.
I agree, but I'm throwing out some fun stuff. Let's have some fun.
I like it.
You know what, though? It could work to say to people like, look, Scorpio Sky showed up. It's the buy-in. Who might show up during the show? And of course, this is one of the shows where they have debuted people. They don't do it every pay-per-view, right? So we could see a Jordynne Grace show up. We could see the return of Chris Stat. We'll see. This match is intriguing. Can go either way, but they've got to do it the right way is all I know. Moving on, our next championship match of the night is this is going to be Kate's match of the night. I'm calling it now. FTR, Kate hates them. They're way at the bottom. And then Kate's top tier team in the history of all professional wrestling. Jay Lethal versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, excuse me, for the AEW Tag Team Championship with the special guest referee Mark Briscoe. So a quick recap for those who maybe haven't been watching. Mark Briscoe, friends with Jay Lethal, friends with FTR, and Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, showed up at Mark Briscoe's trying to help him out with, the stuff on the chicken farm and become friends with him. And then they sort of, put it out there to him like, how do we get to FTR? How do we beat them? And then they go on to challenge FTR. Mark Briscoe's sort of stuck in the middle. And Mark says he's going to be the special guest referee. And then over the past few weeks, he gets pile driven by FTR. Dax is blinded and pile drives him by mistake. Last week, we have the big blow up where he doesn't shake his hand. And then he goes up the ramp and he sort of shoves all of Jeff Jarrett and Karen Jarrett. And then he slaps Jeff in the face and basically says he's tired of this shit to Jay Lethal. So is Mark Briscoe going to call this one straight down the middle? Is he siding with somebody? Who knows? Kate, since this is your favorite tag team in the history of the world versus one that you couldn't give two shits about, you have, I believe, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, Kate has called FTR the drizzling shits of in the history of professional wrestling tag teams.
She says it regularly, almost weekly.
Seriously, it's
Look,
amazing.
It's not that they're that bad. They just don't. They're just extremely medium. Like I can't think of a single FTR match where I've been drawn into, especially from like an in-ring storytelling perspective, anything that they've done. Not in NXT, not in AEW, not in ROH. They're just. It's not that they're that bad. It's just I'm so bored by them.
They have failed miserably also everywhere they've gone.
Yes. Historically, notably, negative star FTR. Like, just not very good at the end of the day. Certainly, I don't like to shit on talent. Not everybody's going to be the Guns. Not everyone's going to be Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. I have to temper my expectations. That's on me. I do think because look, you can go back weeks. I've said, what are they doing with this tag division for weeks? And obviously what I was referring to was them belting FTR. I unfortunately don't see that changing here. I think Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal are maybe too big for the belts. Like they're almost too good that they don't need them, right? Why don't you have a tag program where the belts are in play? So it feels like FTR is doing something important. Whereas Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett looked at Ric Flair's last match and said, why don't we drag this out for an entire fucking year and bring Karen Jarrett back? So I think in this case, unfortunately for me and for really all of wrestling, I think FTR retains here. So.
Just terrible. Ryan, what do you think?
It's FTR. I mean, I don't know. There's not even really a debate on this. If it goes the other way, what are we doing? Like, I would be really mad.
It would just be heat for heat's sake, just to
and bad
have
heat.
the crowd
Like you'd be the
crazy.
wrong kind.
And you could argue that the gun heat was kind of almost heat for heat's sake. There was a story there, but like I don't think anybody was like, "Oh, this is a even people that were Guns defenders." I don't think were like, "Oh, this is because they're like deserving tag champions that we're going to like." So,
I love the Guns.
Yeah. That's why I was saying you're a Gun defender.
Yeah.
But Ryan is a big believer
in the position of like, I don't know about a Gun Club tag run though, right? Like,
oh yeah, no, let's be fair. They weren't ready for those belts yet, but
yeah.
But Ryan is a big Second Amendment guy. He loves his guns.
He does.
So
love guns.
Now I do also agree that
his guns.
Boom. Sun's out, by the way. Guns out.
There you go.
Sun's out, guns stay in.
Now I'll say this. I do think FTR retains tonight. And I think that they will go through a couple of programs to get us through. But I think we're leading to Aussie Open and FTR at some point. When Ryan, can you do the hand? There it is. Perfect.
Aussie. Oi.
Perfect. Open the doors and see all the Aussies.
It's just that it's so easy.
He doesn't even know how to do that one. So yeah, I think we're
Can't do it all
eventually
no,
getting to.
it's not that I don't know how to do it. It's that I can't
Here's the
do it
shirt.
and show it at the same time because where I'm positioned, my hands.
I don't know what to do
With-
with my hands.
My hands. And then the guy keeps lowering them. Anyway,
We was going real good. We were driving real fast.
I do think we're going to get eventually FTR versus Aussie Open. I know why you bring an Aussie Open, but I think that this is a perfect that's a perfect sort of feud to build up and give us a good series of matches. Now, obviously, Dunkzilla needs to be healthy, so we'll probably put a little bit of a pause on that. But the Hardys are hanging out there, right? They said they want one final sort of shot. Maybe somewhere in the middle we get them until Aussie Open's ready to come back. Who knows? But I think FTR wins it tonight. We'll see how it goes because there are plenty of room for shenanigans in this match.
Agreed.
All right, guys, our next championship match of the night is going to be for the international title. It's the Blackjack Battle Royal. We know Orange Cassidy's defeating against 20 other wrestlers, and I think it was yesterday or a couple days ago on the 25th, they released the graphic that showed the full list of wrestlers on there. It will be Orange Cassidy against Ricky Starks. We knew about him. The Switchblade. Oh, I'm sorry. Kate, did you know
I'm looking at the graphic too.
Yeah.
And I know the font changes, it gets smaller. So if you're having trouble reading it,
I can't.
It looks like it says Switchblade Jay White.
Okay.
It's also
what I
One
thought.
time he's gonna cut the cord as he comes up and just.
I'm not. I'm well above chords here, man. I'm well above chords.
Only takes one.
So Jay White, Juice Robinson, we knew about those three gentlemen, but filling out the rest of that is going to be the Butcher, the Blade, Bandito, Commander, Lee Moriarty, Big Bill Morrissey, Ari Daivari. I don't know this guy. Oh wait, I do. He goes over the rope and is eliminated first in just about every battle royal. Tony Nese, Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta, Kip Sabian, Phoenix, Pentagon, Swerve Strickland, Brian Cage, Keith Lee, and Dustin Rhodes. So a quick note here too is QT Marshall was notably missing from that list. And QTV was out there sort of looking for reasons why, and Harley Cameron went out and did some scooping. Now, I didn't see a specific reason why he wasn't included, but I can tell you this. We did find out that Hobbs and Aaron Solo said we're not going to be in the match out of solidarity. So QTV and his minions not in this match. My assumption is they're just getting those guys sort of ready for Collision, especially Hobbs. But anyway, I like the makeup of this battle royal. There's a lot of good names in here. Now, obviously, we have a few guys who can be problematic for different reasons in a battle royal. I'm looking at Bandito, Commander, Phoenix, and Pentagon, who love to go to the top rope.
Sure.
Probably not what you want to do. But there are some names in here that advance some stories throughout the match. So I kind of like the makeup. I don't know who is going to win. My guess is maybe you keep it on Orange Cassidy somehow. But just about anybody in this match sort of makes sense outside of some of the guys who do flippy do shit and who are involved in tag teams heavily. But you never know. They could pull off a surprise here. Ryan, what do you think?
So I have Orange losing, even though I could see him winning and Miro coming out after. There is that possibility. However, I have him losing, and I am going to pick one guy, but I do have two possibilities. Those obviously being Switchcomb, Jay White,
Sure.
and Swerve. And I'm going Swerve.
Wow. Okay.
Brian, you were so close just then. But his name is actually Switchblade Jay White.
Switchcomb, Jay White, got it.
Very, very far in front of your cord that time, Ant. That made me feel better.
He won't commit to his own bit. He won't buy a switch comb.
Yeah, you gotta buy a Switch comb, Ryan.
I almost did.
Commit to
Almost
commit.
doesn't count.
Orange Cassidy is retaining. I'm actually kind of disappointed about the makeup of this battle royal, to be honest.
Really?
It feels, if you're not gonna put Miro or Andrade, to me it doesn't feel like, because there's so many people that are mired in stories that are like in the middle or longer. It feels like it's a little too obvious that Orange Cassidy is retaining. There's nobody that feels like it's his time guy. I agree with Ryan. It's probably Swerve if somebody does emerge. I would also throw Ricky Starks as a possibility, but I think Ricky, this is almost like lower profile in a way, and I don't think Ricky's going to be like that international champion from like a workhorse defending another country's perspective. Probably, I think we still got a ways to go on this Bullet Club Platinum Express angle as well. So I'm going to go with Orange Cassidy retaining, and I'm a little bit bummed. I think it'll be very fun because there's a lot of things that lazy Orange Cassidy can do in retaining this, right? Like we always see someone
True.
play possum, but nobody plays possum like Orange Cassidy plays possum, right? So
I just want one spot where Orange is the only one in the ring with the ladder, and it literally takes him minutes to climb up that ladder.
Well, I mean, that would help if this was a ladder match.
But it's a battle royale. So.
Oh
Come on.
shit! I'm confusing it with the later match.
This
Christian
guy,
and
Kate.
Wardlow.
This guy.
No.
My
I
goodness.
mean, he's the only one that knew
They
the
all blend in
stipulation
my
of the
brain.
pre-show, but still.
You're right.
So
I just got really excited for that spot.
anybody, would it intrigue anybody if they put the belt on Jay White? Because there's that possibility with Forbidden Door coming up. You know, it does sort of give him maybe a reason to be able to sort of reopen the door to New Japan, because remember, he was forced to leave.
Logically, yes, it makes sense. For my gut instinct just says no, but I don't think that would be a bad decision by any means. It just doesn't feel like a match right now for him to be carrying that, but that's just like a feeling. There's no wrestling reasoning around why that would not be a good idea. I think just because like what are him and Juice doing? I need a little more clarity of like, are you a tag team? Are you an extension of the Bullet Club? Like what's going on with that? Are you gonna fight with Eddie Kingston when he gets back because he kicked you out of New Japan? So just on a gut instinct, I would say no.
Yeah, I just thought maybe there were a couple ways because it would still give a lot of, no pun intended, juice to the story between him and Ricky. You know what I mean? Like then there's a way for Ricky to continue to sort of chase the Switchblade. I'm sorry, Switchcomb? What is it, Kate?
Switchcomb, Jay White.
It's actually Switchblade.
Switchcomb.
Thank you. Anyway, it'll be fun to see how that match plays out. We do move on to our next championship match of the night, Wardlow versus Christian in a ladder match for the TNT Championship. So clearly, I mean, there's not a whole lot of build up here. It was just Wardlow won, and then Edge and the Dinosaur came out to sort of lay claim to the next shot. We thought it was going to be Luchasaurus. It wound up being Christian. And, you know, because of Christian's history in a ladder match, this seems to make sense to me. You know, I guess that's what they're leaning on here, a little nostalgia play. But I think Wardlow's going to retain here. I think it's going to be a fun match. I think it'll be good, but I just don't see this changing hands tonight. Schlong, since you were so keen on seeing Orange Cassidy climb a ladder, what do you think about the actual ladder match?
Rude, but I've thought about this, and I am going to say Christian. I thought Wardlow originally, but now that I think about it, I think it's going to be Christian. I think Wardlow's run has been kind of a waste, and I think they need to reboot him in some way, and I think losing it and doing whatever.
I disagree violently. You cannot waste two
Violently.
Wardlow runs here. I think this is also being used to set up getting Wardlow and the dinosaur, which I have no interest in, but I'm sure your son would absolutely pop for. And
Wardlow and the dinosaur sounds like a kid show.
it does, and I think they're really going after that 5 to 9-year-old demographic. So I think this is for them. I also think, I don't know, until we find out when Edge's contract is up, I'm not throwing it off the table that he might show up at Wembley. And I need to know concretely he can't. Otherwise, I feel like the foreshadowing of this ladder match is a Hardy's, Edge, and Christian match, probably with FTR at Wembley.
You know, it would be a Luchasaurus match would be good for you know, little money, but as he said one night coming out, he said he's bad, but there's still some good left in him. So maybe we'll get a reface turn of the dinosaur. That would make him very happy. There's still some good in him. I said maybe, I don't know. So guys, in I don't know. I'm sort of lukewarm on this match. Not for any particular reason, but Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm for the women's title. I'm lukewarm because I don't I don't understand why Toni Storm has laid a claim for the title besides like this you know, outsiders versus original story. I just sort of wish there was something a little more concrete to this match, but I think it's going to be a good match. Like I don't think it's going to be bad. I just don't necessarily have a reason to sort of be invested in this. I think it's going to somehow advance that feud even more, but I don't know. I think it'll be good. I think Jamie Hayter is going to keep that belt, especially because you're going to get her to Wembley in that match. Whoever she faces, Saraya, whoever, is going to be huge. But I don't know. There's just no reason for me to like be invested in the story behind this match besides Toni Storm being like, I want it. I don't know.
Okay.
Kate, you Toni Storm looks like you. What do you think?
Well, thank you. I've certainly been called worse. I think the injury kind of hampered the story a little bit with this, because when they set this up the first time, because this is who Jamie Hayter won the belt from, they talked about like the fact that they live together. I think there is a story with Toni Storm saying she wants to put it back for her side, but it just didn't get executed in the way that I think they probably could have if they knew 100% Jamie Hayter was going to be ready for this match. I think it's going to tear down in the ring. Their first time around was great. I think you get to have less shenanigans. And so much of the last time around was like, oh my God, are they actually going to strike while the iron's hot? They don't always lean into those things. And they did with Jamie Hayter, which I really appreciated that they had that moment. So now you can kind of get a little bit more even paced of a thing. We haven't seen a lot of Jamie Hayter in the ring yet. So I think this is going to be a fantastic match. But I agree with you. The story is a little lacking. I definitely think Hayter retains. And I think we definitely get to see Jamie Hayter at Saraya in the UK, which will be a sight to see, and honestly will sell some of the remaining tickets that they have left.
and just to be like, I know the history, they just really didn't lean into it.
No.
Like even this whole feud, like they really didn't like lean into the fact that, hey, they've lived with some people, like some of these people have lived with each other or like trained together. Like it just was sort of thrown together.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like, you know, limped across the finish line. The match is going to rule because both of them can wrestle. But, you know, I just want to be clear. I know the history. I just don't think they didn't.
It didn't play out on screen. Yep.
So Schlong, is it changing hands tonight, or are we going to see a retain?
Her injury is the only thing holding me back because no one has an idea of how injured she really is, right? Like there's been no actual confirmation on if it's like severe or if it's manageable, because if it's severe, she's going to lose.
Last I think that was reported, at least by Fight Club, was that it kept her from being able to wrestle on screen, but she would be good to go at the pay-per-view. So I don't know what that, if they were being cautious by not having her wrestle on screen beforehand is one thing. If she can get through this match. I don't think you put her in there with Toni Storm if she's too injured, because Toni hits hard and like.
True. Well, you could do like sadly you could do a quick loss if she's injured, but I think the truth is if she's healthy enough to go, if they've just been careful, the story is that she wins so that she could face Saraya at Wembley. Like that's the story they're telling.
And I think as far as two people knowing each other and their experience wrestling, this is probably the best person you could put in with Jamie Hayter if she is like legitimately hurt and not, nobody's really 100% sure on how hurt she is. Like Toni Storm is probably the safest person you could put in there with her.
Yeah, and I feel like there's such an easy out if she was that injured. You have two stables. You could just do a women's tag match and people would have to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like people who whine about the women's title not being defended, like me, you would just have to deal with it. But there's an easy out right there of having just two tag teams from each stable if it was that bad. So I'm thinking she's all right.
Well, we'll see, but I the one thing I can tell you is that match is going to thump. So make sure you watch it. All right, guys, and maybe one of the longest storylines that I've ever seen play out in all of wrestling. And by that I mean the story of the Elite. We're gonna get the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club in Anarchy in the Arena. This is the second time they've done Anarchy in the Arena. And again, as I sort of said, this long running story of the Elite without Hangman Adam Page has finally come full circle. For those who don't remember, this is going back to being the Elite during the pandemic when they were in Daly's place, with the text message going to Hangman Adam Page and then the text going to the Bucks, and we weren't sure 100% if it was somebody fucking around driving a wedge between them. But this has been a long story that we're now seeing closed loop. Very much like Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega coming full circle, for the title after the turn. Like Hangman has just been lucky enough to be in these long-term stories that have really done well for him. And I think that this now still has plenty of legs to do well for him, because no matter how this goes tonight, there's still a lot of questions in the air, right, about the Elite. Like, is everybody really cool? Like, is Kenny cool with Hangman? Seems like Hangman and the Bucks are okay. Rooster Cogburn Hangman is really awesome, but like, is he going to have the eye patch on tonight? Is he 100%? Is Takeshita going to get involved? Do we possibly see, a Golden Lovers Elite reunion? Like, there is so much that can go on here. I think this makes it so tough because
this is a tough one.
My head tells me it's going to be the Elite, but my gut says it's probably going to be the Blackpool Combat Club, and this will sort of continue somehow. And I think that may lead to Ibushi coming back, right? But it's just, my problem is when you go from Anarchy in the Arena, how do you level that up? You know what I mean? Like, how do you ratchet it up? A blood and guts? Like, I guess, but like, is that as big as an Anarchy in the Arena? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know. Like, this one, maybe on the whole card, even the championship match, which we're going to talk about next, this may be more than that. I have no idea which way it's going. I'm just to pick something, I'm going to go Elite, but if it goes the other way, I'm not going to be mad. Schlong, let's go with you first.
As I said Wednesday, it's the Blackpool Combat Club winning because Takeshita interferes and costs the Elite. And that's how you eventually get, Ibushi and all them added in. This is where the story is going. All for it.
Okay. Easy enough. Kate, what do you think here?
I am struggling with this one because there's so many possibilities, and just thinking about the fact that Forbidden Door is right there, but then also thinking about the fact that Ibushi is done with New Japan. So what does that mean? It doesn't feel done, but to Ant's point, how do you level up from Anarchy in the Arena? And the only thing I can think is that you add more members. So does Ibushi come out tonight? Or does Takeshita come out tonight? Is where I'm at. Which one of those surprises pops bigger here. I don't know why. Just, man, gut instinct says that the heels go over here because I think the faces end up on top, and it just feels like this story isn't over yet. So I'm going Blackpool Combat Club. I'm guessing, yeah, with Takeshita. If not, Don Callis does something also trickery. But the fact that they have the leverage of the craftiness of Don Callis, the invisible hand there, I'm gonna say they go over. Just because it doesn't feel resolved. But to Ant's point, how do you level up from Anarchy in the Arena? I don't know, but I do think this story is eventually bringing us Ibushi, which is exciting.
I'm just racking. I mean, I do think this is where Ibushi is inserted into the story at some point. Just racking my brain about where you go. I mean, blood and guts. Okay.
But that's been kind of, people think that'll be where the women go. So then you'd have to take
Right.
it from them. And they've kind of earned that in their feud.
I agree. That's exactly where I was going with that.
I feel like I also don't know if it's a level up. It almost feels like a
I don't
level
think that's a level
sideways
up.
because they're both so violent.
Do you do something? Well, I don't think you dangle like a barbed wire, exploding barbed wire match again because it went over like a popcorn fart in church the first time. But like, you know, there are those ties to like XPW in Japan that would do shit like that, right? I mean, you want to do something like that at Forbidden Door? I don't know. But like, I just don't. Beyond that, like, what can you do? Any stipulation you put on a match is not going to be bigger than Anarchy in the Arena, except for maybe a stadium stampede. But like, even that, it's like the same type of shit. So it's like, I just don't know. This is a
Anarchy in the Arena feels like a blow off, right?
yes.
Like that's the thing that I'm kind of struggling with, which that does make me feel like the Elite is going over. But because the story doesn't feel done to me, I'm going with the heels. But to your point, the whole other side of me is like you don't really get bigger than Anarchy in the Arena. You only get lateral to it.
All right, we're 2 months away, so hear me out. It could be a long time to buy, but War in Wembley.
You could also do Anarchy in the UK.
Yeah. Well, I would stick with alliteration, but yeah,
No, I
that's
know.
better. But I'm
But
just
both
saying,
of it, both of them weren't. I mean, it's just like, yeah. I mean, that. Listen, a 5-on-5 of the Elite, you know, and the Blackpool Combat Club in Wembley would be big, and it would certainly, Kate, like you said, Saraya, Jamie Hayter move to, you know, be sort of a push to sell those last tickets that they're trying to sell. Certainly, I think that would help, especially if you throw Ibushi in the mix. But it's just, I don't know. This is the toughest one on the card for me tonight. This is the toughest match. And with that being said, we're at the main event of the evening. It's our AEW World Championship 4 Pillars 4-way title match. MJF defending against Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara.
Nailed it.
And MJF does not have to be involved in the pin to lose. That's a 4-way. So, you know, obviously we know, those who've been watching sort of know MJF has won this title. You know, he had been saying, I'm not doing a 4-way. He came out talking sort of at one point about the 4 pillars. They've all sort of laid claim. And eventually this all sort of blew up in MJF's face as he gave everybody a task, you know, win here, I'll give you a shot. Win here, I'll give you a shot. He put together some mini tournament and then had an alliance that blew up in his face, which has gotten us here. So Sammy's on his own. He's not going to lay down for MJF. Jungle Boy and Darby, they were sort of already at each other's throats. They had come together just to get to this match, but now they're not sure if they can trust each other. But it looks like the 3 against 1 have at least come to the alliance to say, we're going to make sure we're each going to get to this match and we're going to figure out who the best one is. That being said, Max is going to be Max. He's winning this match and he's going to cheat to win. We all know it. We're all okay with it. And I think we know it and we're okay with it because MJF is absolutely better than us and we know it. That's it. Plain and simple.
I will just say, as a poor, I do think that MJF wins. I think maybe the shocker moment is that we get Jungle Boy fully turning heel. There's been like all these hints at it. I think it's time. JB turns full heel. Maybe he realizes everything MJF was saying is right. Whatever. I think he turns heel on Darby in this, and then we get a Darby and Jungle Boy singles feud out of this. The tipping the hand of Adam Cole, I think, also has me a little bit more convinced he's retaining. But the build has been up and down with this, but I'm very excited for the match itself. And shout out to our friend Cass at Body Slam for getting the exclusive that this was all MJF's idea, that he was behind the creative of this. I think that's cool, and that's a cool way for a champion to want to step up. So good stuff with this. I think MJF is walking out of here champion.
And just to sort of put an exclamation point on what you said about it's really cool for MJF to do this. For me, this is what we talk about. We've talked about it a lot on Wednesday nights, that if you want this company to continue to grow, you have to elevate the young talent who you've been saying, these are the next guys. This is the way you do it. And for MJF to have the faith in these guys and know these guys and work the creative and get everybody here, I think that's awesome. So I'm backing you, Kate, 100% in what you said. Like it's what they need to do as a company, and for the champion to be behind that and not be like, I don't want to do that, or it doesn't make sense, I think is great. It's great for the company.
Pillars growing into walls, as we say.
True. Schlong, all that being
MJF.
said. Okay.
MJF.
Okay. Well, wow.
Aggressive.
Schlong has said all he needs to say. And honestly, guys, so have we. This was really all we wanted to do today, was to take you through the card, get you ready with some of the stories in case you weren't sure what was going on. I do want to call out a couple things in the chat really quick. I like his point, but this is mainly because I want to say his name. Brutalities says MJF has got this. I would have to agree with you, sir.
Greatest handle. Nice to see you in here, Brutalities. Good
and how about this one, folks? Because I say absolutely not. Bonkers LFC. Any chance Punk shows up? I'm saying no shot.
No, they're saving him for Chicago.
Absolutely. Kate, you're the Stan. You're the Stan.
Agreed. I don't think this is where we get CM Punk. I think he's coming very soon. I think if there's a surprise here, it's either Ibushi or it's one of those Tony Khan surprises of someone like that isn't even on our radar, that is just like one of those holy shit out of the blue kind of things, people that you wouldn't even have in your mind. But looking forward to the card tonight.
It should be a lot of fun. As we said, it starts at 8:00 on Bleacher Report here in the U.S., Fight TV internationally. It's also in the U.S. here on pay-per-view providers. I believe internationally, YouTube as well. You can buy it on YouTube in some countries. In the United States, also at select Dave & Buster's, Cinemark movie theaters. It's all over the place. I think it's awesome that they have all these opportunities to kind of get out there and see it. And quite frankly, for anybody who's ever, I know you guys went to the movie theater. You said that was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Back in the day, before places were doing like, specific broadcasts at like restaurants and stuff like that, we used to go watch a bunch of the old WWE pay-per-views at a local bar that would show them. That stuff was always a lot of fun because everybody there was way into it. So whatever you got to do to see it, certainly check it out. And we'll be watching. We're going to talk about it Wednesday nights. That's when you normally can catch us. But as we're wrapping up, why don't we tell the people where they can see us? Kate, since you got the most going on, why don't you let people know where they can find you?
Sure. Fightful YouTube doing the NXT review as a watch along with AEW tonight, since those pay-per-views are going head to head, and then on Select for Double or Nothing. Other than that, my usual rotation of Select on Mondays, and for pay-per-views Tuesdays on the Fightful main channel doing Sour Graps, as well as Thursdays and Fridays on the main, Wednesdays right here at the Mark Order.
Schlong, what about you?
You can find me at Mark Order Pod on Twitter, and obviously we're at there across the board, and then just here on Wednesdays.
And to everybody who was able to check us out on this special bonus show today, we thank you, Brutalities, Bonkers LFC, Cabbage Sensei, Rob Humphrey, Josh Mitchinson Radio, who's been able to check us out live today instead of at 4 a.m. when he normally does afterwards. Pretty awesome. Ricardo, surname redacted. We're still working on finding your name. Michael Dammit, Eric Freeds was in here a little bit earlier checking us out. Thank you all for checking us out. For anybody seeing us for the first time, we're the Mark Order Podcast, part of the Shining Wizards Network. We can be found every Wednesday night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter live as we cover everything in the world of AEW and run down that night's Dynamite. And as Ryan said, you can check us out on all socials at Mark Order Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, etc. And if you go there, you can check out the link tree in our bio, and you can support us by requesting free stickers. All you got to do is give us your name, your mailing address, the country you live in, and the email address in case we have any questions. And we'll send you out some free Mark Order Podcast stickers anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. And guys, just so you know, Jesse Ozog, I found his request. It got lumped in with another request and I didn't see it. So I'm going to say it here and I'll say it again Wednesday night. I'm going to live the rest of my life trying to make up that lack of professionalism to
Please
Jesse Ozog.
Do better.
I got to do better. And I highly regret it. And I apologize from the bottom of my heart. That won't happen if you request stickers. We send them out worldwide. If you want to support us by giving us some of your hard-earned dollars, you can check out our official Pro Wrestling Tee store.
There's a sale going on, Ant.
There is a sale. There's a link in our link tree, but you can also get there by going to prowrestlingtees.com/MarkOrderPod or just searching Mark Order Podcast on Pro Wrestling Tees. As Kate said, Memorial Day sale is going on right now. Through Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern, you get up to 25% off of your order. There are some limitations to some of that stuff. It's all in the graphic. No coupons are needed. So if you've been waiting for a shirt to support us, now's the time. We have 2 front prints, 2 front and back prints. So check it out. And we thank you if you'd like to do that and support us. Those dollars go straight back into the show. Other than that, guys, thanks for joining us. Kate, thank you. Ryan, thank you. We hope you enjoyed this preview show. Enjoy the show tonight. Have a great Memorial Day and be safe. We will see you Wednesday night to talk about the pay-per-view, our reactions, as well as the Fallout episode of Dynamite right here on the Mark Order Podcast.
This concludes the Mark Order Podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join the Mark Order.